Hi there, thanks for stopping by. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Welcome to the Neighbor Network, the show where we uncover the mysteries lurking just around the corner. From ghostly encounters to unexplained phenomena, this is a place where the eerie and extraordinary come alive. I'm Doomy, your guide in the unknown, and tonight we're diving into the world of the paranormal with a very special guest, Becca, who has some chilling stories to share. So grab your flashlight and let's venture into the shadows together. Thank you very much for joining us today, Becca. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I guess we'll just
Good.
dive right into it. What this podcast has a lot to do with the paranormal, skeptics. So you're really allowed to have any sort of opinion here on this particular podcast. Nothing's wrong. But I'd like
Yeah.
to know, just, tell us a little bit about yourself and what sparked your interest initially into the paranormal, or, maybe just saying, fuck it, like ghosts don't exist.
Um, I don't know. I've always been like interested in the paranormal and shit, even when I was like a little kid. I know my mom has like a lot of ghost stories, so she would tell me those ghost stories. I'm like, oh my God.
Hmm.
And our house was super old growing up, so
Mm-hmm.
it was a little bit spooky. So just
Yeah.
kind of always been paranormal girly.
Oh, your poor little mom. Seeing all the little
I
ghosties in
know.
that house. Oh my God. What
Oh,
was it? The old house we would hang out in? Was that the house? That you
yeah,
would. Oh yeah.
yeah, that
Wow.
one.
Oh wow. Okay, so you'd say you're more
Yeah,
of a believer than a skeptic.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. Me too. I've seen some weird things. Not so much ghosts in my adult life, but I kind of close that stuff off. But when you really allow it, you find that like there's a lot more to the eye, and all the weird shit that's happened to me as a kid. Like you can't really explain that. And I know I tell people a lot,
No.
and this is kind of what sparked the whole podcast. To be honest with you, was that experience with you that we had when we were teenagers, and how every now and then we don't talk about it. We hardly ever really talk about it. Um, we'll just kind of
No.
look each other in the eyes and be like, did that still happen? And then, yeah, that still happened. And then, fuck off. And then we carry on with our lives. And that's like every 5 years, we kind of just relive that to make sure, like, that still happened, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Jeez.
Feels like a fever dream.
It does. It really does. And when I see more footage happening, because obviously cell phones are becoming more, prominent. Everybody can record anything these days. So you're more likely to see some fucking UFOs in the sky now,
Some
and a little
scary
bit,
shit.
but yeah, better detail.
Mhm.
So do you know, or can you count like one of the most chilling experiences you've had, or like an unexplained encounter that you were just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and like never talked about it ever again.
Yeah, there was this one time when we were hanging out at our good old friend Davina's house, and
Hmm.
we were
Hmm.
just chilling on her bed. Her door was wide open, and then she was talking about the Necronomicon,
Ah,
which
yeah,
I was like, why are we talking about this? And all of a
yeah,
sudden,
yeah,
her door
yeah.
just fucking slammed shut.
Wow, what the
Slam
fuck?
shut, wide open, slam shut. And I was like, we need to stop talking about this, okay? Let's
No
no
kidding.
more.
Like
And then
she,
not good.
yeah, that was a scary book. And the book in question is like I have it, and I get it. Like I'm so scared. I am absolutely scared to do anything in this house as much as I'd love to, and I'm still on the cusps. Um, you know, Beckers isn't from where I'm from. Or sorry, she's from where I'm from, but she lives elsewhere. She's escaped the city,
Yes.
and she's moved to much bigger and better things, but she's coming to visit us. So what's going to be great is we're going to try to do something spooky, but the problem is I have that very book, and I kind of wanted to do like a seance or something, or like have fun and do like a Ouija board, but then she gets to go
Oh,
home, and then I'm I'm stuck
you
sleeping
just
with the
stay
ghosts.
here.
So yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I'm still on the cusp. I'm still really thinking hard on that and what I'm gonna do. I might go buy some sage off Amazon. before you
Yep.
go. Oh my god, that's
They
awesome.
should get out of the house. And
I should say to the whole house, salts everywhere, everywhere we step, just around the couch and everything. Like, man, that house. Do you think her house was haunted? Like, it must have been. Do you think it was her, or do you think it was the house?
I think it was a combination because like that
Mm-hmm.
street in general, like my house was pretty spooky, and
Mm-hmm.
her house was about the same. Her house was
Mm-hmm.
about the same, like built around the same year.
Yeah.
Like my house was like it for some reason we had a picture, like a drawn picture of my house when it was first made that
Mm-hmm.
would sit in our living room. Why do we have this?
That's
It's creepy
weird.
shit.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. Those houses were probably over like 100 years old.
Oh yeah, it was a
Yeah.
hundred. It was over 100 years old when it got torn down. And yeah, when I was asking my mom about the picture, she was like, "Oh, it just came with the house." I'm like, "What do you mean it just came with the house? Like that's weird.
So it stayed with the house, is
Why do
what.
we have it? It
That's
stayed with the house."
so that's what it sounds like. So the people that moved out left the picture there and stayed there. And now, oh my gosh, that's
And I'm
ridiculous.
pretty sure when the house got torn down, it stayed with the house also. So
That's
yeah,
crazy. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. No way. Couldn't.
Weird shit.
So what would you say the scariest place you've been? Like, would that be, or like that you lived, or like anything? Would you say it was the housing?
Uh, like scariest place?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably like I wouldn't say like the houses in general. I'd say the street because the
Oh.
street was really spooky. Because like
Right. Right. Right.
also like there was that church that was down the street that was haunted
Mm-hmm.
also. Like people would talk about
Yeah.
how haunted it was.
Yeah.
Like
I remember that.
there would be people trying to do construction on it, and then the construction workers like their fucking like ladders would get pushed over and nobody would be there, and
Wow.
like while they were on the ladder they would get pushed over.
Really? Oh,
So
well, that's not funny.
yeah,
But that sucks. That's
yeah.
quite
And
quite quite inconvenient.
my mom would see ghosts on that street a lot, and
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was just the street, man.
Yeah, you know what? I
The
think
whole
so.
ass street.
Mhm. I think the whole last street, I agree. I remember walking home, like, and I've seen, if anything, what was really strange was the lights always flickering on and off.
Hmm.
It was always,
Hmm.
so that was one of the most memorable things that would happen all the time. There'd be no reason. It would be like working. And then all of a sudden you're walking home, you know? And at that time, at a particularly like spiritually charged night, like we were quite spiritually charged people. So we'd walk out and all of a sudden the fucking lights would flicker on and off. We're like, oh, great.
This is cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
this is great. This isn't an eerie horror. Like, I love this. I love when I can't see my
Yeah,
way home.
yeah,
I'm like, geez, I'm gonna have to pass the
yeah.
scary church to get to Portage. Oh my god.
100%.
In your opinion, what are
Okay.
ghost star spirits?
So I think they're like energy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, just energy from people and stuff. Like especially like I think like spirits and ghosts are a little bit different because like ghosts tend to be in a loop.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yep.
ever seen a ghost in a loop, so
Yep.
I think it's like a pocket of energy that is trapped in a certain other pocket. They can't get out of it, so that's why they loop around and around and around,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then spirits, I think, are a little bit more like free energy. They can kind of
Mm-hmm.
like do their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Uh, I think, yeah, I think it's just all just energy. Because I think, like we as people and as animals, and we're all just energy. So I
I
think
agree.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what they
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Amen. As they say, amen.
Amen.
Just kidding. I agree.
As they
I
say.
agree. As they say. Now not only with ghosts, that I've had encounters with as a child myself, not as an adult, but obviously there's unknown explained phenomenon out there that I mean, particularly the thing that me and you kind of, confirm with one another every 5 years. Now, I want to know your take on what happened that night. And if I remember, I think what were we like 15, 16, or were we a bit older than that?
I think we were a little bit older than that.
So, okay, so like
Um,
17, 18.
yeah, around there.
Okay, so we weren't fucking around. There was no reason for us at this point to fake this. Okay, so if you don't mind, I would love if you recounted that evening as our young adolescent selves walking us home, walking me home that night.
Um, yeah, I remember. I can't remember if you were living at Davina's at that point, but we were walking with Lily,
Mhm,
your sister. Um, and it was like late-ish at night. It wasn't that late. It was maybe like 10,
mhm,
11, and we were just walking her home because it's a little spooky on that street.
mhm.
And we were walking past that church actually,
That's right, we
and then
were. Mhm,
I remember feeling this like weird feeling, and I was like, something in my head was like, just look at the sky. I was like, okay, I like stopped and I looked at the sky, and then I saw this like weird shape. Like I focused really hard at this
mhm,
like weird star that was like flickering weirdly. I was
mhm,
like, why is the star flickering like this? And
mhm.
then I like focused really hard, and I saw a shape behind the star that was like trying to blend in with the sky. And I was like, what the
Okay.
fuck is this? And then
Right, right.
I think I remember pointing it out to you, and then you stopped and you like looked at it also, and we were like, oh no. And then once all three of us were like looking at it, started like moving around in the
Mhm,
sky, and we were like, oh no.
mhm,
And I remember us all just getting real fucking freaked out, and we started running towards Portage because that's where the lights are. Like, go to the
mhm,
lights. And
mhm.
the whole street was pretty fucking dark too
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that point. We just booked our asses out to the Portage, and yeah, I thought, yeah, we were pretty freaked out. I remember that very vividly, how freaked
So
out we were.
so the UFO that you remember, now I'm gonna ask some questions based on my experience,
Hmm.
before I talk about kind of my side. The UFO that we think we saw, what color was it? Like, what do you remember the coloring of it, or if it was, yeah, glowing or, you know, blending in, there was no color, was it vivid, was it dim? Like, do you remember what the color of it?
Like I remember the color was very similar to the color of the sky, like it was trying to blend in with the
Mhm.
sky.
Mhm.
It was just
Mhm.
like a little bit darker. It was a little bit darker than the sky, so you could see the outline of it. And
That's
it's very like
crazy. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was like hexagonal, but it was like very like edged. You know what I mean?
That's
Like very
fucking weird.
a
Yeah.
lot of edges on it.
It freaks me out
Yeah.
listening to you talk about it, to be honest with you. And guys, like any viewers, we have never really talked about this in pure detail, and that's kind of what's creepy about it. Because what I remember about it is pretty much the same thing, and that's what's crazy. So we're walking down that street. We were by the church when I remember looking up, and I remember seeing this fucking, and this is how I describe it to people. The only way I know how to describe it really is like hand gestures and shit. So I would tell them it was like a diamond shape. I remember like a
Yeah.
diamond shape, but it looks like in the inside of it, and this is where it's fucking crazy that you said it was looking like it was blending in with the sky, because what I would tell people is it would look like a black mirror inside.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it makes like, in listening to you like say it, go, yeah, it would, because it was dark outside. And to me, I was like, it was like a black mirror inside, but it was fucking glowing. Like, to me, I remember it was like an orange glow,
Mhm.
and it looked like, and I tell people it looked like it was on fire. And it was like a
Mhm.
flaming glowing, and then the triangle shape with a black inside. And then what freaked me out was the way that it was moving. Like, it was moving so
Mhm. Mhm.
like weirdly gracefully and like coming down, and I think we started to run when it started to move, and it came like closer. And
Yeah.
I remember, and this is where I
Yeah.
started
Yeah. It
laughing.
was like following us at one point.
Yeah, and I remember Becca here fucking ran. I started running too, but my sister was. I remember looking back as we're running, and my sister, who was also who's gonna try to get in here on the story eventually, was staring up at it, not moving at all. And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, people say when I talk about it that she was stunned, and like she might have been. She could have been
Yeah.
in shock too. Like me and you, our first instinct was to get the fuck out of there and run, get to the light. But some people's reaction, I guess, would be to like, "Oh my god, like what the fuck is that?" Because yeah, what the fuck was that, right? Like, what the fuck was that? And then I guess we kind
Yeah.
of talked about it and then just kind of all went, and we're all three completely different people, like, mind you, right? That had this experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's another crazy part because I started to, and I don't know if I mentioned this part to you guys, but I started to obsess about this. I was like, I have to fucking figure out, was this real? I used to go on websites that people would what do they do? Would report alien findings, and they would put sightings. You know, I saw this in Winnipeg, blah blah blah. And I would also like look up, do drones do that? Like, can drones move like that? Are there drones that look like that? Nope. Were there alien sightings or anything like that? Or nope. Like, that was just something that happened to us that, you know, until then I've never had an alien encounter to since
Yeah.
then. But I know, and then I saw a
Well,
picture. Huh?
oh, I was gonna say, I don't know if I told you this, but a couple months after that happened, it happened again to me, but it was outside my house.
No way. You definitely
And
failed to.
I ran up to
Oh,
him. I was like, no, like absolutely
what the
not.
fuck,
Because it
man?
was a different the star part was a different color. It was like
Mhm.
red,
Mhm.
not white. Because the other one was white and it looked like a star. The other one was red.
Mhm.
And I remember looking at it because I was like, I think Mars was like in line with the Earth at that point. So I was like looking up at the sky, being like, oh, Mars. Like, I want to look at Mars. And then I saw the shape and I was like, oh no. And then it moved really fucking weird again. I was like, oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I was like, no, 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 no,
That's
no. This is no.
Oh my god. So did you check your body for chips? Have you checked your body for chips and
I did
probes?
not. I have not.
I do
And
all the
I
time.
have not had an incident since I left.
Like,
Since I left
anytime I
Winnipeg, I have not had an incident.
Oh, it's good. But especially since you're in the mountains, I'm surprised that you haven't seen some things when you've been out there.
Yeah.
I mean, yet anyway.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, it's who knows? Because
Yeah.
the thing is that we're opening this box again. Like, doing this is opening a whole box. Like, talking about this stuff, like, I want to. My biggest fear, however, is having a conversation with people like yourself, and then there being something dark and mysterious in behind me. You know, like, I don't want that. I'm
Oh
really
no.
afraid about that. So I'm gonna try to tread lightly, but because we've had some really weird
Mhm.
experiences that have come true, I'm a believer. I can't tell you that um I don't think everything that I know is certain, but I think possibly like what we learned growing up was quite close to the truth. I would say, like, obviously in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
So, in that case, how do you spot the difference between like a genuine paranormal experience or something that might have a scientific explanation? Like, do you go into that first? Like, when you see something weird or something weird happens, do you still, even with going through what we have, do you still process it with that like scientific mind before going, "Oh, it's a fucking ghost"?
Like how I like when I see like if it's something I see in person, it's really um like it's off of the feeling I feel.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like because like I'm like I'm a believer, but I'm also skeptical at the same time, right? So it's
Right.
like
Right. Yeah.
I'll take everything with a grain of salt,
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
life is.
Yeah.
But like if I feel a certain way about it, I'm like, I'm just gonna be like, I trust my fucking head and my gut, so
At
I'm
this
just gonna be
point,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah. Good, good. Yeah.
yeah. It's more of a feeling, more of a
Yeah, it's more of a feeling too. And you know what the thing is the problem is who do you talk to? Like, who do you go to when something weird like that happens? Because you go to the internet, but like actually, who do
Mhm.
you go to? Like, you can't go to the police. Like, holy fuck, there's a fucking ghost in my ghost keeps turning off my light and trying to set my house on fire. Like, the police can't do anything.
yeah,
Like, you gotta
no,
call. There's no one to call. And like these conversations, they're obviously happening. People are obviously having weird experiences. I don't want to get abducted by aliens, and I mean,
no,
and here's, yeah, I don't want to. And if I do, I'd like for to be a little bit more of education about it at this point. So, I did want to bring up
yeah,
as well, with knowing all of this and not being a skeptic, that you might find this piece of information kind of interesting. And I might have mentioned it before. I don't know, I talk about it all the
Mhm.
time, that I honestly have so much word vomit. I forget who I talked to about it because it was such a thing that blew my fucking mind. But the CIA put out documentation about astral projection being a real thing, and
Yeah.
that they were
Yeah.
actually conducting experiments that proved that it was a thing. So knowing that, okay, we saw a fucking UFO, we've had, you know, paranormal experiences, the CIA of all fucking people, like a
Mhm.
$1 billion funded company, went, oh yeah, so yeah, hee hee, there's UFOs and hee hee, you can astral project. Like, thanks. And then the rest of us are looked at as like kooks and spiritual hoo-has and occultists, and
Mhm.
so it's kind of shitty. So obviously that's why I want to have this conversation. If it's anything I leave left. If I leave here, it's just knowing that we had these conversations and we validated it.
I definitely believe like in astral projection just because
Mhm. Mhm.
um when I was growing up I had a boyfriend that did like a shit ton of DMT. Okay?
Oh yeah.
Shit
Okay.
ton of DMT.
Yeah.
He's a well psychedelics in general. He's a psychonaut, right? And he would tell me, he was like, yeah, I would like astral project and I'd be like walking down the street and I'd walk past the store and I'd see something very specific in the store. And I've never seen this store before. I'm just walking past the street. And then a couple days later, he would walk past that store down that same street and he would see the item that he was looking at while he was like astral projecting. So
Hmm.
it's not just him dreaming because he had never seen the store before
That's
until
weird.
he walked past it again. And then he was like,
Mhm.
oh, I see it now.
That is so strange. And like, so,
And he would do that a lot. He said he would see it happen, and I was like, "Well,
I've never done DMT or acid. I've done shrooms, but at this point in time, when I was younger, I was
mhm,
very just marijuana and alcohol kind of related. Now, the weirdest thing is
mhm,
when I've had dreams come true, but I don't know, like, I'm thinking, okay, now with having what you just said, was that astral projecting? Like, I met Rue. Like, do you remember Rue?
mhm."
Rue and
I
Eldritch
remember
or
you.
whatever. I had a dream that I met Rue though. Like, some weird shit happened with Rue. Like, I gotta admit, like, he was kind of a fraud, but like some really weird coincidences happened with him. And I had a dream. I worked at Lush Cosmetics like a long, long time ago, and
Mhm,
there was this perfume called Breath of God that they had, and I fucking loved it so much. But they stopped selling it. It got discontinued. But the bottle I
mhm,
had was left in my old bedroom, and I moved out at this point. But my sister still lived in this apartment block. I
mhm,
remember me, and I can't remember it was you and Davina, or I don't remember. It was such a blur. Or maybe we are just stopping by, or it was just Davina. But anywho, the dream was I was sitting in that bedroom. It was very blurry, but I smelt the perfume Breath of God, and sitting across from me was a bald image with a beard. And then
mhm,
fucking cut to like months later, I'm standing in my old bedroom smelling the breath of God because the old perfume bottle is to my left, like sitting on my old desk, and Rue is sitting on Lily's
mhm,
fucking bed. I was like, what the fuck? That was weird. So I didn't talk about that. But then what got weirder was that one time I had this dream about it was a triangle with the image of a whale that was coming out of it, and it was like I describe it as like a fruitcake color. It was like an iridescent inside of the triangle. And
yeah.
fucking Rue, I didn't tell anybody this dream, but fucking Rue came to my house, my apartment, and gave me a piece of paper. He printed it out in color and said, something told me to give you this. And it was that triangle with that coloring it. And I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Weird.
Right? And I was like, what the
Weird.
fuck is this? So how do you like explain that? Like, and then weirder stuff started happening. I started getting into
Mhm,
Crowley. I started doing tarot card readings. My tarot card readings became a little bit too creepily accurate, so I stopped doing that. Davina started going crazy from the Necronomicon, you know?
Yep. Yep.
It was like a whole spiral of things that, like, we just and then I met somebody at the time that was very conservative, and so I cut the spirit shit out, and that's why nothing really happens to me now, but every now and then, like, it still sometimes happens, you know, like, I get, like, a premonition, so, like, I know that it exists. I know it's still inside, I
Mhm.
just have to get it out, and that's why I wanna do this stuff. I want that again. I wanna have those feelings again. I wanna see ghosts, you know, I think, you know, we've been adults for a little bit too long now. We need to be kids again. You know, we're in our
Yeah.
30s. We need to be kids again. It's just, you
Yeah.
know,
No, I agree.
yeah.
Like I have like some like I used to have like weird premonitional dreams. Like I remember when I was like I think it was like 10, I had a dream that my left leg at the ankle got cut off. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
when I turned 13, no, I remember I was like somebody died in my dream and then I had the left ankle like the left leg of my ankle cut off. And
Mhm,
then when I was 13 in that same year, somebody from my school died that looks very similar to that person.
mhm.
And I broke my left ankle and had to get surgery on it. I had to get cut open.
What? What?
Yeah,
That's
that's
creepy.
what I
Like, you
know.
gotta admit, that's really weird. That's a weird coincidence. Like, if people
Well,
are g like,
yeah.
that's fucking strange, like, having a dream. Like, you know, I think there's something to be said about people that were born in our time, you know?
Mhm,
I think we're probably a little bit more receptive to spiritual things happening to us and having,
mhm,
you know, those things, especially people that practice what we did. Um,
mhm.
like, what if you had a vision? Like, right? Like, I believe and because you're a Sagittarius like me, not to get all like zodiac-y, whatever, but I feel like that people like us are like how I like to put it, like oracles, you know? I can't
Yeah.
go to a doctor about this. I'm gonna be taking schizophrenia pills.
They're gonna be like,
Like,
this bitch is crazy.
this bitch is whack. I'm fucking crazy. I'm not like you know. So if we have enough like-minded people from all over the fucking place talking about it, well, fuck, maybe let AI take over completely. You know, because it's gonna take over, and we need to
Yeah.
have our conscious thinking all intact and be able to
Yeah.
astral project the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I don't really have like I kind of have like premonition type shit. It's usually like if someone's thinking about me, I'll
Yeah.
like
Okay.
randomly start thinking about them for like days. I'll like start like it won't leave my brain. I'll like dream about them. I'll think about them. Then all of a sudden, a couple days later, they'll like message me and be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I was like, "So
That's
weird. I was literally just
weird.
thinking about you."
So that's weird,
And
right? And
it
that
happens
makes
so fucking often. It
yeah.
happens all the time. Like it happens all the time.
Wow. I don't even know how to
Yeah.
explain this stuff. That's what I mean is like how do you say that cuz people will just say it's a coincidence, but like how many times do we have to say it's a
Yeah.
coincidence before we can go, okay, well, because if you continue
Well,
so let me put it this way to people is like if you say it's a coincidence over and over again, the definition of insanity is saying it's the same or doing the same thing over and over. Like we need to stop. This isn't a coincidence. Like or you know, I'm not on drugs, you know, I'm not medicated. I'm a quite well-rounded individual, and unfortunately, I saw an alien. Okay, Becker's here is a well-rounded individual. You know, she's a
yeah.
very fucking fantastic human being. She saw an alien. That's just the way it is. Like, she's living her life up in the
How it
city,
happens.
and she saw an alien. You know, like that's and you know, there's people that do. There's all sorts of people of all sorts of places and backgrounds and things that we can all agree that there's something weird going on.
Hmm.
So, have you
Yeah.
ever done any sort of investigation on your like any sort of paranormal investigation on your own or used any equipment like that? And what do you think about the
Um,
legitimacy of the equipment?
I haven't.
Mhm.
I have watched like a lot of spooky ghost hunting shows. Like, I think like I don't know. I think like if you're gonna go ghost hunting, you don't really need the equipment. Like,
Mhm.
sure it helps, but there's like lots of like other factors that go into like how that equipment works, right? Like,
Right.
there's so many ways to fuck up when you're
Mhm.
using that equipment that
Right.
like it's not really as reliable as like people like to make people think it is. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm. Do you
Yeah,
think
like
that there's
especially
like
like even cameras, cameras like
yeah,
there's so
yeah.
many ways for them to fuck up that if you like
Yeah.
take a picture of a ghost, like who knows if it's actually a picture of a ghost or if the light hit something weird at that point when you're taking that picture and you like moved a weird way and that's how you got that picture, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the best defense
So
is like just having people, like a lot of people see it, or at least having more than one obviously
yeah,
experience it so you don't look like you're a crackhead.
yeah,
Basically.
100%.
Oh my goodness. So
100%.
so do you think that there are certain people that are likely to experience paranormal activity or UFO sightings more than others? Like, do you think there's a
Yeah, I think it depends on the frequency you're giving,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's different
Mhm.
frequencies to life and especially like there's different like layers to life, right? There's like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
when you're thinking like, logically there's like 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D,
Mhm.
so on and so on. Those are like the dimensions, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think
Right.
like looking at shit up there's like 7 dimensions, I think.
I
I can't
go by
remember,
like
but
I don't know a whole lot about those things, like the dimensions. I use like a
mhm,
torus grid to explain like energy, but I don't know anything about unfortunately the dimensions. But I do agree, like you do have to be in like a tune. Like there's attunement and some sort of
yeah,
open-mindedness that you have to have. And the first thing they say in the occult or any really spiritual matters, take everything as a sign, right? Like everything as a sign, because if you're
yeah,
expecting
100%.
a fucking lightning bolt to come hit you from the sky, hello, that's not going to happen. But a
No.
butterfly that might just resemble something that you may know, someone you may know's like favorite butterfly they may have passed, or a color or something, like
Mhm,
those things are signs. And I don't know exactly if it's like a matrix thing, if like we're in a weird matrix,
mhm.
or I don't know, but how do you feel with how do you feel about like the media and how they portray aliens and ghosts, and are they how can I put this? Are they fabricating this scary thing that really isn't scary at all, or do you think that they're right for making it like scarier than what it is, and how do you feel about the impact it has on folks?
I think when it comes to like aliens, especially in the media, I think they humanize them too much. Like, right? Like they're little like gray men, but they're kind of like humanized at the same
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like we all want to see, like we as people want to see ourselves and other things.
Mhm.
So same with like ghosts and spirits. I think a lot of them aren't like people shaped. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
A lot
Yeah.
of people are like, "Oh, I see a person." Like, I feel like some of them are, like, especially I feel like the ones that are trapped in that loop that I was talking about,
Yeah.
I think they're like they look more people-like because it's like watching a movie, like a clip of a movie over and over again. That's
Mhm.
what they're in.
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
clip of a movie over and over again. But like
Yeah.
certain like spiritual type things, it could be like a light. A lot of the time, it's like
Mhm.
a light.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think the media has like an idea,
Mhm.
but again, like people are very self-centered,
Mhm.
so they see themselves in everything
Yeah,
and shit like that.
absolutely.
Like, even when they're talking about God, it's like a man in the sky. I'm like, I don't think it's a man in the sky.
He's an asshole. Like, you know what? You'd have to think, if he's a man, this guy, would you want that man in your life? If he was doing all this to
Yeah,
you? Girl, he's
yeah,
toxic.
right.
That's what I'd say. God is
Well, like
toxic.
how I like to
Just
see it.
kidding.
I don't know if you've ever seen like, have you ever seen the Futurama episode where Bender meets God?
I don't recall it, unfortunately.
I'll have to show you the clip of where Bender meets God, but basically he's like in space floating around.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and he had like a colony of little aliens that lived on him that all died because they had like a big world war. And then
Oh.
he is floating around being all sad about it. And then he floats into this like thing that looks like a little galaxy with like little stars. And it's like what it is, it's like a computer.
Mhm,
And then he's asking this god like, oh, like you saw these people like die, like why don't you stop anything? He's like,
mhm.
well, it's not really up to me. I'm just here to exist. Just here to
Oh.
make things in existence. Like, oh, okay.
Oh.
So like I like to think that's what God is. Like
Hmm.
God doesn't have like God's not a person. He doesn't have feelings.
Mhm. No, he's
Shit
just
happens. That's how it goes.
that's right, it's just the way she goes. Okay, that's a great way to put it. That is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So, what
Yeah.
advice would you give somebody who, like, let's just say, they're like just like us, like normal folks, but around a bunch of people that think that, ghosts are nuts and crazy, and if you talk about it, it's ridiculous. What advice would you give them on how to process it? Like, what did you do?
What did I do? I kind of just like I realized that like I know it sounds crazy, and I just kind of like I don't talk about it a lot, honestly.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
my biggest advice for like people who are going through like spiritual things is like honestly take psychedelics. It'll
mhm,
open your fucking mind to like even you said you've only had mushrooms, but like take psychedelics.
mhm.
Take all the psychedelics. Go out into the fucking woods.
Go
Be
in the
one with the
woods.
earth. Take psychedelics, and you'll see like there's a whole different like dimension to like other like there's a
Mhm,
whole different like world that you just
mhm.
haven't seen yet. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I think honestly, if everybody took a little bit of mushrooms here and there, I think the world would be a better place.
I do think that,
People would understand
yeah,
more.
yeah, a lot more smiles out there, I think. I think if people took
Yeah.
those. That's funny. You know what, Rebecca's? Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
no problem.
for your stories
No
and
problem.
your insights with us, and thank you listeners for tuning in. Love to have you back. So, and thank you very much for your time, for coming in
Yeah, no problem.
and telling us these things. Obviously, I know it's not easy to talk about. People, there's going to be judgmental people out there, but there's always going to be people. Like, it is what it is. And
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, so I'll have Rebecca's social medias down below. Don't forget to subscribe and join us next week. We will uncover some more mysteries from the shadows. Until then, keep your eyes open and your lights on. You never know what might be lurking just beyond the corner. Good night, you guys. Say bye, Beckers.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching the first episode of the Neighbor Network. I appreciate it so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. Also, don't forget to check out our Instagram page. That's TNN period Insta. That's TNN period Insta for Instagram. Looking forward for the next episode, guys. Take a look at the page for more updates. Otherwise, have yourselves a fantastic day, guys.